Hey everybody, welcome to Falcon Plays Kaiju A Gogo, episode number 1. So we did the one-shot of Kaiju A Gogo, and you guys seem to be, pretty, positive about it. You wanted to see more of the game itself, wanted to see how it worked endgame, towards endgame anyway. And also, you wanted to see some of the Kaijus going to be coming down the line. So I figured, you know what? You guys want to see some more? Let's go ahead and do a little bit of a mini-series on Kaiju A Gogo. We'll see how far it goes, and then we'll base it on the continuation on your reaction to that. But what I figured we'd do, just because the game's a little bit more minimalistic in a sense, when you're out in a city just destroying shit, there's really not much tact to be involved with it. Most of the tactical stuff does take place in the base itself, where you're kind of like figuring out what training you want to do, how you want to set up your base and destroy stuff, and then, build up some buildings for defense features and everything like that. That part is going to be kind of really more tactical. But in terms of being on the map and just destroying stuff, it's kind of like more just shut your brain off for a while, have a good time, and just cause a lot of havoc. So what I figure we do during that time, if you're familiar with the channel itself, you know that, most of my commentary tends to focus on the game itself, and, some people might say that on occasion there might be a random tangent or 2 or 3 or 4, and that's cool, we all know that I do that. However, because on the map, there's really not much else to do other than just destroy shit, and it's not really too much tactical prowess involved with it, I figure what we want to do is, let's have a little bit of a let's chat, and what I propose we do is that I want you guys to get involved with this one too, no less. In the comments, just go ahead and drop your opinions, but I want you to get involved. I'm going to be talking about just kaiju films. We're playing Kaiju A Gogo. Let's talk about kaiju films, and I know that the most popular one would probably be Godzilla. I'm going to do something different for episode 1. Let's talk about Pacific Rim, because that's also a movie that didn't come out too long ago, and there's a lot of praise for it, and I'm willing to discuss it a little bit. So, here's what we're going to do. Episode 1, I'll talk a little bit about Pacific Rim. Episode 2, we'll probably talk about Godzilla then for sure. But I wanted the comments for you to either agree with me, disagree with me, base your own opinions, add on to what I have to say, or correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot of the time. So, get involved in the comments, and let's just have a little bit of a chat about it and have a good time with this series. Just, let's keep it small, like not too much of a long series, but we'll just kind of randomly talk about stuff, and again, I want you guys to get definitely involved with this one. So, without further ado, if you already watched the one-shot, you know what goes on in the tutorial, what leads up to the first mission, so I'm going to skip right into the very first mission, and we'll start talking about our premise today, which is going to be Pacific Rim, I guess. Alrighty guys, and if you watch the one-shot on this, you know that it's basically not much of an introduction over here. We're just in the city, we're in Anchorage right now, and we're just here to cause shit, and hopefully pick up a lot of these resources in order for us to either get more abilities back home, make some more buildings in terms of defenses, and other things of that nature. So without further ado, let's get into the mission itself over here and just start wrecking the shit out of Anchorage. If you're from Anchorage and you're watching, no offense, Unfortunately, the game just decides that you are the very first target out there. But don't worry, I'm going to go after every other continent at some point or another too, so, it's not just Anchorage that I'm over here, shooting, hashtag shots fired too. Either way, Pacific Rim. Let's talk a little bit about Pacific Rim. I enjoyed Pacific Rim. I thought it was just amazing for what it was. It was like this really, at least amazing looking movie on screen for me, and it was just basically monsters going into town on each other, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was really cheesy. Obviously the story was very, very cheesy. The scenes were very cheesy, especially in the human interactions, but come on, we're not here to see that shit. We're here to see just monsters fight each other, right? Now, some of the negativity about Pacific Rim is what I've heard anyway. I really haven't looked too much into it, but the gist of it is that the story is essentially lifted off of something from Evangelion. And here's the thing about me, when it comes to anime, I'm not really a big fan anymore. I used to be, in a sense, growing up. I watched some animes. Now, here comes Grandpa talking. I watched, Cowboy Bebop. I watched Trigun. I think the latest, to give you an idea as to what probably the most latest anime I've watched was probably Full Metal Alchemist. And I didn't even watch that because I wanted to. Unfortunately, the person I was dating at the time was really into anime, and she was like, hey, you should watch this anime, you'll probably like it, and I was like, I'm just not really a big anime person, but I gave it a chance, and you know what, I ended up liking it. Now here's the thing about anime, I have nothing against it, but I guess I'm really picky when it comes to it. Like, it's got to be like a specific type of theme. Like, I can't do the, say for instance, like, romantic high school over-the-top dramas where it's just really cute as shit. I can't do that. Like, it's got to be somewhat thematic, I guess. And it's not because I'm over here putting down my big boy pants or anything like that. It was kind of like, oh, it's cute? No, I don't want to like it. I just want to see shit kill each other, which, probably is a little bit true. I can't deny that. But, Cowboy Bebop, what was that? That was a space opera, right? You had Trigun, what was that? Spaghetti Western. Full Metal Alchemist, what was that? Well, I'm not really sure about the era because I'm really terrible at naming eras. I don't necessarily want to say Victorian, but it's definitely like, old English type of feel to it, like that whole coming of like to current time type things, but the main premise around it was the Philosopher's Stone, right, and necromancy and all sorts of crazy shit like that. And I dug that. I really dug that. Evangelion, on the other hand, it's an anime that I did try to watch during the time that I was into animes and giving them a chance back then. The only problem with it is that I think I went in with the wrong mindset. I went in with the Kaiju Monsters, where it was just kind of like, well, I just want to see mechs beat the shit out of each other. And that's what Pacific Rim did for me. However, Evangelion, as you know, if you're an anime fan or not, you'll know that, you know, the big critical acclaim of it was going to be the story. It's apparently a very deep story. You have to pay like really attention. There's a lot of like, you know, underlying themes and etc., etc. I went in not paying a goddamn bit of attention to the story itself. I just went in watching, you know, shit destroy each other. And the problem was that once, you know, probably 1/3 of the anime through, or like halfway through the anime, it takes a really big turn to the story and shit starts happening. And at that point, I was just kind of like, wait a minute, what's happening now? We're not killing stuff easily anymore because what? Wait, what? God this? You know, clone this? You know, weird relationship with father, son, you know, weird blue-haired girl. I had no idea what was happening. And unfortunately, I gave up on it because of that fact. I was just kind of like, well, I have no idea what's happening. This is going to be about the upgrades if I'm right. So, by the time that happened, I was kind of like, yeah, okay. I don't want to watch it anymore. But, recently I've tried giving it, that's a big-ass piece of turkey right there. Recently I've tried giving it another chance, and I've been watching, if you're familiar with anime, you'll probably be able to correct me on this. They're doing like some sort of Evangelion rebirth, reboot, remake, whatever. It's been coming out in the last year or two, maybe 3, in parts, right? I think it's up to part 4 now, which might be the last one. I watched the first 2. I haven't completed the entire thing, but I've been paying more of attention to the story. And in doing so, I do definitely see the similarities between Evangelion and what the Pacific Rim story was, where it was kind of like, you know, alright, there's a monster coming out, okay, cool, here's some kaijus, let's send them out there, we'll kill them, and then the monsters come back stronger, and they come back with a little bit of a idea as to how to counter that kaiju that destroyed it to begin with. So, that's what Evangelion was, right? They would just get stronger, and they would basically adapt to what the hell we were doing to defend against them, correct? So, I could definitely see the Pacific Rim, or the Evangelion, I guess, inspiration in Pacific Rim, and that was one of the biggest things I heard, at least, like, not like Hollywood critics talking about it. Hollywood critics just shit on it because it wasn't like, you know, your amazing over-the-top fucking drama, like Little Women, or dare I even say, like, Interstellar or some shit, you know? I mean, that's, you know, I'm doing this with quotation marks, by the way, because, you know, Interstellar, you know, you liked it or you didn't, you know, you thought it was, like, you know, just, what's his face, Chris Nolan masturbating himself or not. You know, I have nothing against it. I watched it, and when I watched it, I was kind of like, okay, cool, I get it. At the end of the movie, they try to, you know, okay, let me do a little bit of a cutoff here. Well, actually, at the end of the movie, they try to explain to you the entire fucking movie itself, the summary of Interstellar, and I was just kind of like, alright guys, I was paying attention, I got it, thanks for the fucking idiot rundown. I got it, though. You don't have to fucking spell it out for me. But I didn't think it was necessarily an amazing fucking movie, as apparently it was high praise down and up with. I thought it was alright. I had nothing against it. I was gonna be like, oh, this is a fucking terrible movie, because fuck Chris Nolan. You know, I liked it. It was fine. It was fine for what it was. But, you know, kaiju movies and things like that, they're not really necessarily critically praised by, you know, Hollywood, because they're just not, you know, that type of movie that, like, you know, horror movies. I've seen good horror movies with good stories, and, you know, they don't necessarily ever get the praise because they're not that mold that, you know, Hollywood and critics really praise. So Pacific Rim kind of fell into that aspect. Let me actually leave Anchorage over here and we'll get back on this theme because we have to do some stuff back in the base now in itself. So I'm going to cut ahead into the base itself because usually on the loading screens the audio tends to cut me off for some reason, so it sounds like I have an aneurysm because it'll just load ahead. Alright, and if you're familiar with the very first video, the one-shot where we kind of went over this, essentially, after you're done wrecking a city, you have to go back home for repairs. The reason why I left Anchorage is because we were taking a lot of damage. Down over here is our overall health bar. We have 400 overall health, but we were down to 38. I never really used my plasmid in that attack because I'm not really a fan of the plasmid. I'm going to wait till we get the I-beams and hopefully even the boosters this time around so we could actually move faster in the map, which would actually let our escapes be a lot easier too. We could actually hang out a bit longer, and if I feel like we're about to die, we could just boost to the exit itself. But that's going to be some of the upgrades we're doing here. So let's speed up the time here really quickly, get back into the island itself. And this will be basically how much we, or how well we did, or how bad we did in the map itself. I don't think we brought in too much money, huh? Only 46,000. Should have probably gone over to some, maybe office buildings or some sort of bigger buildings with more money. We got no purplutonium again, and biomatter. Purplutonium was actually in the very first video. People let me know in the comments like, Falcon, you fucking missed it. It was right there. Apparently it landed behind trees and I didn't notice it, so, you know. Hopefully I'll be more vigilant this time around. We have a lot of power, which is fine, but money is actually pretty low, so I'm not sure we're going to be doing much in terms of upgrades, which is unfortunate. So let's, right, my evil accountants will tell me about my progress over here, which, you know, isn't really that great right now. The citizenry of Toronto stand tall in full report of the KDF and the struggle. Alright, there's also going to be some random news reports you get on occasion based on what's happening in that region, based on your attacks, and how the overall morale is in that region itself. Let's go into training. Right, this is going to be a duel of our training for Kaiju over here. So, the booster is going to be... We might be able to do the booster, but unfortunately right now we have to wait till our monster is repaired before we can actually train it on some new abilities here. So, let's go into the secret base itself. Here, I'll run this down. Lady, I got this, don't you worry. Over here is what we'll be doing most of our actual base building itself. And we'll basically be breaking down some of this wildlife over here and making some buildings. All the buildings are going to be based on different type of buildings, whether it's defense, you know, ways to increase your healing over time, etc., etc. This is more of the tactical aspect of the game. And when we're here, I'll probably be more vigilant on the game itself. But when we're on the maps, we'll, you know, go back to our, you know, just chatting and whatnot. But yeah, this will be part of that aspect itself. Right now, all we're really going to do is wait till he heals up so we can train some few abilities. And I'm not going to do any sort of work in the base right now because I want to use up the money, that little money that we do have, is to actually improve my abilities over here. Now, during my time over here healing, Right, complete. By the time I'm over here healing, by the way, if you go to the world map, Anchorage itself is also healing and so is the region, so you can't necessarily spend too much time upgrading and healing because you need to get back out there and do some more damage. Otherwise, you won't be able to either siphon funds off of Anchorage or any other city and, you know, basically do the other tactical things here. So, for instance, Anchorage over here right now, the destruction is at 5.2. I want to say it was probably a lot higher when we left, but now that we've over here been spending time healing up, they've also been kind of doing a little bit of recovery themselves. Their morale is at 96.6. So with that morale at 96.6, it means that we probably will not be able to, you know, try to siphon money off of them or threaten them to leave the region or the World Defense Council itself. They're a tier 1, so that's actually the ones we want to go with early on. Their economy is 107,000 right now, too. So again, we could also try to get them to give them the money, but again, that's going to have to be over time when we do some more damage to them. Instead of going after Anchorage, though, I kind of want to go after Panama City, because I feel... Oh, that's tier 2, though. Maybe we should probably start off in Albuquerque, because it's a shorter trek from here to Anchorage than it is from here to Albuquerque. So that might be easier for us to get over here, do some damage, come back, heal up, and go back and attack him one more time. So let's go back to the secret base over here, and let's see here. Well, let's go to the training then. Now, we could do boosters, definitely. Alright, stop it. Stop it, lady. I got it. So we're going to definitely train boosters, I want to say. Assign abilities. This panel shows all the abilities that we have unlocked. Click and drag active icons into the bar below to fit your kaiju for battle, right? So after you train some abilities, you have to actually equip some of them, though. Because you can only carry so many of them, so sometimes you're going to have to make a decision which one you want to go with here. So for training, we're going to go with booster number 1 because I want to definitely speed up over here. That's also going to take 4 days, so again, in the meantime that I'm over here, you know, leveling myself up in a sense, they're going to be healing up some more. But it's kind of a trade-off because we'll be able to move faster, meaning we'll be able to get to more buildings and do some more destruction. So again, treat the very first mission in Anchorage as a tutorial. Expect them to heal up the first time because you want to do some leveling yourself before you get back out there and, you know, bust shit up again. Alright, so that's it. We got that one done. Let's go back to training over here, and since we have this bad boy done, we still have... How much money left do we have? We should have enough for I-beams as well. So we could also do the armor boost. You know what? I want to go with armor boost. I feel that if we could just last longer out there and move faster, we'll probably do some more damage. So we'll definitely do the armor boost instead. Let's go back to the secret base. Let's speed up time over here. Let's learn this. And the moment we're done, we'll get back to Albuquerque itself and cause some havoc over in the old US of A here. Come on. Okay. Excellent. So let's just make sure that our abilities are over here equipped. We have boosters and we have plasmid. The armor one is not going to be equipable because it's a passive ability anyway, so you don't necessarily have to equip it, I don't think, right? No. Yeah, so that's going to be the first one of the defense abilities. We have metabolism abilities, and we also have the attack abilities, which is the plasmid, and probably the I-beam down over here, I would say, right? Yeah. Okay, but the only ones that you actually activate are the ones down over here. So the armor is going to be passive, you don't need to equip that one. So we're done over here. Let us, yeah, I ain't got the status. Okay, cool. Let's go to Albuquerque and do our thing over here. Now let's speed up time. And we will cut back in once we're in there because the loading screens, again, tend to cut off my dialogue. Alrighty guys, and here we go in Albuquerque itself. Let's unpause the game, let's get in here. Let's actually use my boosters here really quickly. As you can see, there's going to be a cooldown over here, but the speed, as in that we're moving it, is a lot better now than it was beforehand. So, does that actually last as long as this is going on in cooldown? I'm not sure. It seems that way, but I'm over here just fucking hauling ass like hell, and I'm just setting everything ablaze in the meantime, too. Let's shoot off the plasma to show this off for some of you guys that haven't checked that out. I don't really like it too much because the hitbox detection on it is a little bit wonky sometimes, so I don't really rely on it too much. Alright, so we're going to be jacking up these small offices. We want to pick up some money, I'm going to say, more importantly than anything. Now, their energy bar is at 139 out of 300. I imagine that, more than likely, I have to imagine that what happens is that, let me take a look at my boosters here when I use them. Does that actually, yeah. So the booster, for instance, is actually using up some energy, so you'll definitely want to pick up the batteries as you go along in order to, you know, use some more abilities more often, because otherwise you'll just be able to spam them over and over. Let's actually do the gas world over here, too. What I like about the gas world is when it blows up, it actually does cause some residual damage around it. At least that's what it looks like to me, because of the big-ass explosion anyway. Alrighty, so back to Pacific Rim itself. Yeah, I mean, based on the Evangelion, like, comparison, yeah, definitely the story is very reminiscent of it. One of my favorite RPGs, or one of my favorite games of all time, really, in general, is Xenogears, which is a JRPG in PlayStation 1. And that alone, too, also had a really big inspiration by Evangelion. I'm not entirely sure when that was actually being produced, but in terms, was it kind of like, you know, after Evangelion? I'm really terrible with dates. But the story of Xenogears itself is also very, very reminiscent of something like Evangelion. And of course, it also has mechs, and it has, like, you know, monsters from another realm, and there's also like the whole religion and god type of, you know, theme behind the entire game. So I imagine that's also probably some sort of, you know, Evangelion type of feel to it. Now, I'm not sure, again, if that was actually being developed before Evangelion. Like, I'm terrible with dates, so if I'm wrong on that one, please correct me. But I have to imagine that it kind of syncs up a little bit too well to not think that it doesn't have any sort of inspiration by Evangelion. But yeah, Pacific Rim does have that story, and, you know, the thing is about Pacific Rim, again, you're not watching it because of the fucking story, man. You're just watching because you want to see monsters just beat the shit out of each other, and that's what, you know, Pacific Rim does a really good job of here. Let me use my boosters since we have some pretty good battery power stored up over here. I want to get up to this big-ass office tower over here because I imagine that's where the money is. Right now, we're not really doing too amazing in money. We're really at 21k, so that's actually kind of bothering me here a bit. Now, in terms of Pacific Rim, there is a sequel lined up, and I'm excited about it because, again, I enjoyed the first one. I enjoyed it for what it was, which is, you know, just the look of it, the fighting, the story, the scenes with the humans was cheesy as hell, but you just wanted to watch the kaijus beat the shit out of each other. Plus, it has the amazing themes, right? It has, like, all the fucking amazing music when they're fighting, and I think that's a really big contrast to something like what the Hollywood Godzilla movie in 2014, was it? I think it was 2014 that came out, right? It was last year? Or 2013? It was 14-13. But I'm talking about the latest Godzilla movie for the Hollywood version, which we'll actually discuss more about that one in episode 2. But just as a quick little contrast, like, that was more story-oriented. Yeah, it had Godzilla, it fought, you know, that crazy monster that showed up, and a lot of people didn't like the big story inspiration behind it, but the thing is that when you look at the older Godzilla movies too, there's been a really big human element to those movies as well. The Hollywood one that we just, you know, recently saw probably overdid it a little bit, sure, you know, and it teased the, it teased Godzilla for quite a bit until it finally showed up, and it would show up, it would be like, you know, just really momentarily. But that was more, you know, human interaction, more story-oriented, while Pacific Rim, on the other hand, was just, oh, that was a really good payout right there. I'm so glad we went after that one. Now, speaking of which, let's make sure where we are in the map here, because we're taking still a lot of damage. Let's actually use my booster here, and start thinking about probably heading somewhere close to the edge of the map here in case we do have to flee, because right now it's looking a little bit heralding for us. Now, the problem with fleeing is that the monster itself will not just head out. He needs to destroy everything in its fucking path before it decides to leave, so that's one of the big worries over here in terms of getting out of this map in time. I'm gonna try to go through this little parking lot over here and probably wreck shit on this side, but we're gonna soon enough just get on out of here because we're down to 86 health right now, so that's something we definitely want to keep an eye out here. Alrighty, let's see. House over here. We're at 72. I think we're kind of getting to that point now where it's a little bit scary, so I'm going to probably start heading out pretty soon. Now, mind you don't have to wait till you're completely out of health, because if you leave earlier, it does mean that you could actually heal up faster as well. The city morale is at 86 right now. We've done 6.8 of damage, not really too much, but at least we have some money, and I'm actually happy with that. We got some purple tonium somewhere too. I completely missed it, but we finally got it. So let's actually wrap up the episode here. Again, leave your comments, agree with me, disagree with me, add your own opinion to it. I know we covered a lot of shit here today. Episode 2, we'll talk Godzilla, since we were kind of left on that tangent right now. I probably won't be able to completely talk about everything that I want to in one episode about a single type of topic. There's more about Pacific Rim that I wanted to talk about, but so be it. Next episode will be some Godzilla talk, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up, get active in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.